Hey everyone. So, don't know if you saw, Liberty Safe has kind of shit themselves and rapidly put out a much larger social media statement that somebody drafted overnight. They're listening. They're certainly listening to the internet on this one. Whether their response is ideal, well, maybe you'll have some thoughts on that by the end of this video. Whether you want a machine like the one over my shoulder, maybe you'll have some thoughts on that too. It's kind of loud. I might pause it so you're not listening to the AutoDialer going the whole time I'm talking. There we go. For some context, those of you just tuning in on this one, what is this about? Why is Liberty Safe, a very prominent manufacturer of gun and residential sort of safes, in the news? This has to do with the guy who was arrested by the FBI pretty recently. It was down in Arkansas, I guess. The quick bullet on this one, like this was a guy who was a J6 insurrectionist. And, you know, during the beer gut putsch, he was visible on camera, so they tracked him down. I think it's something about his ears, like he has very unique ears. If the feds want to get you, they're going to get you. And as part of his arrest, they opened his safe. And what got the internet all talking is that they didn't cut the safe open or drill the safe open. They electronically just opened it with an override code that they got from the manufacturer being Liberty Safe. And this got everyone on the internet like really hyped up, especially people who love their guns but don't know a lot about security. And they said, oh my God, is my safe backdoored? What's going on? Everyone started screaming at Liberty Safe because the statement they put out was kind of vague, and for a lot of good reasons. Like Liberty wasn't like under subpoena or anything. They just have a cushy relationship with the government, with authorities, which most big businesses do. Welcome to an age of no privacy for you. This is how it works. Ultimately, though, Liberty has been reading the comments underneath their post. They actually turned the comments off on like shitter or whatever. Yeah, so like I'm pretty sure this is what Liberty's social media marketing manager looked like reading their phone. They realized that their initial statement was not going to do it. They have come out with a new statement, which, you know, I'll put somewhere on the screen or on both sides. And essentially, Liberty said, okay, America, we hear you. Some of you don't like that our safes have these backdoors in them. Of course, they didn't call them backdoors. They tried to say, look, this is pretty normal in the industry, which it is. It's not just Liberty doing this. And they say, you know, for convenience, for the user's sake, if you lose a combination, you can reach out to us, and we like to be able to support our customers. But if you don't like the idea of this, well, fill out this form on the web and we'll delete all of records of you from our company files. And for what it's worth, I believe that's probably enforceable. I don't know how privacy policies would work in whatever state they're founded in. I don't think they're a California company. But yeah, like, do I think that they'll actually do that? Sure. Do I think that solves this issue and puts everything to rest and lets everyone rest easy if they're worried about their safe? Not at all. Why do I think that this doesn't really put the issue to bed? I mean, after all, Liberty is saying, hey, if you have customer data in our systems and you don't want it in our systems, we'll delete it. Which is a good thing, by the way. Let me just be clear. More companies should do this. More companies should be compelled to do this. We don't have comprehensive privacy law in the United States like they do in Europe and other places. But let's say Liberty does delete your data. Well, if you remember from our last video, right? Liberty is in the business of making large steel boxes. Liberty is not in the business of making safe locks. For those, they outsource. They call up Sargent Greenleaf or Securam or who the heck knows. But like, I guarantee you, Sargent Greenleaf, who has a way cushier relationship with the government, and like government sales and government relationships are just very, very intertwined there. S&G is the one who, and we'll talk about why I think this is the case. I'm pretty sure after the reading I've done and checking with some industry voices, S&G is who implemented this I'm just going to call a backdoor, manufacturer backdoor. And even if Liberty like deletes your information and they say, well, you know, Frank Smith has a safe with this serial number on it and we had this override code and we'll delete it. If the feds or a bad actor, which I mean, we're just going to call the feds a bad actor, and a lot of times they are. If a bad actor is in your home and they take the safe dial, we call it a dial, it's a keypad on a keypad electronic safe. If they just flip that dial ring over, there's a serial number on the electronic safe lock. That is not a serial number put there by Liberty Safe. That's put there by, let's say, Sargent Greenleaf or, you know, Securam or somebody. The feds can still contact that manufacturer, or a bad actor could still try to compromise the data, held by that manufacturer. It is the manufacturer who has all of these backdoor codes and extra information. Now, what are these backdoor codes? And we can go ahead and just let's call them backdoor codes because most customers don't know that they're there. Maybe if you read your manual very carefully, I did check the S&G manuals and there's some information in there, but like, there's a lot of people who are probably not going through every page of their manual, and whether Liberty ships the S&G manual or the Securam manual with their product or not, I don't know. I don't own their safes. The codes themselves vary, right? So a number of people reached out, a number of people have been commenting under my video, under other videos and other social media posts. One locksmith named Rick, for example, he gave a very detailed, spiel when he told people, he's like, look, I've been in this industry for decades. I can guarantee you these manufacturers have different backdoor codes. As a locksmith, I'm entitled to reach out to the manufacturers and get the codes. It's how many locksmiths perform lockout services for customers. Now, you might say, like, maybe this Rick guy has all his bona fides in order. Maybe he's SAVTA certified. Is every manufacturer going through the same process? Maybe not. But here's the key thing to understand. When we say, oh, there's a back door in this safe, or there's a code, a master code or something, like that's what Liberty even said, we gave the government the code. There are multiple types of backdoor and override codes. Let's stick for a minute with Sargent and Greenleaf, because that is a big chunk of the market. They're very identifiable. And a lot of you who've been writing to me, you're like, oh man, I looked, I have an S&G, which model do I have? You probably have the 6120, like that's their standard electronic lock. Now, you might look up in the manual and there's like, oh, details about a 6-digit master code. And the first time you start up your safe, if you enroll a new user code, like you've lost the opportunity to reset your master code and you better, reset. There's a whole spiel about this, right? And some people said, oh, frickin' that sucks. I've already been using my safe. That means I can't reset my master code anymore. Well, you can, because there's the master code. It's also called the MAC in a lot of literature because it's the manufacturer code. It's the manufacturer override or manufacturer access code. This is a completely separate code. So you have, imagine this, right? You have what comes out of the box with a, quote, master code, and you're supposed to use that to enroll users, change it, whatever you want to do. And you think, well, that's got to be like my master code I have to protect. That came that way. The default is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I bet you anything, Liberty probably changes that for your customer. All right, we don't want to ship an unsafe safe. If they shipped it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I bet people would probably realize, oh, this is not a safe code. I have to change this. But let's say out of the box, you get a code from Liberty and it says 6489772, okay, this must be my personal master code for my safe. I'll save it in a box in a different safe or in my key pass or something. And you start using the safe. And now you're just now realizing, oh crap, that first code that was like on a piece of paper, I can't change that. It can be changed even after you've been using the safe. You have to use the manufacturer override sequence. This is a series of 7 digits typically, and they are almost, for S&G, they are entered in a weird way. They are entered where at least one of the data pushes is 2 digits at once. So that's in the code. If you actually have, if you look at your paperwork, some of you who may have purchased an S&G lock, like an electronic lock, you might see a long code that has like brackets around some numbers or a slash between 2 numbers. That's a manufacturer override code. That will allow you to reset everything, to blank out even the master code and reset it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this will of course wipe all the memory. All the user codes are gone. It factory resets the safe lock. Now, can you change the manufacturer override code? Because maybe that might have been what Liberty gave the feds when they broke into this guy's house and had to get into his safe. I'll link below to the relevant web pages and other spots where S&G will tell you about this in sub pages on their website, right? So the manufacturer code, or sometimes called the manufacturer reset code, right, the MRC. How do you change that? Well, like other codes, this is one that can only be changed during a special provisional startup period of the safe. When the safe is, right out of the box, and the master code is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can go through a sequence to change your manufacturer reset code. But of course, any such wiping sequence, if you've been using a safe for a while, you're gonna have to knock out everything, and all your different user codes that you programmed and all the audit logs, they'll all go away. Yeah, another locksmith, Pondering Geek, again, like they wrote in the comments, same thing. They're like, hey, this is how the master reset code works. The manufacturer reset code works. And they say, like, yeah, like Liberty Safe would absolutely have these on file. They work very tightly integrated with their suppliers, because the idea is like customers can screw stuff up and they want a smooth process for the customer if they ever have to reset anything. Pondering Geek pointed out that it's not just S&G, right? So like AMSEC, other brands, they absolutely do this. Someone named John reached out to me and they're like, yeah, look, like I know these different locks. Like I have like an S&G, I have an AMSEC. The AMSEC, which is their ESL models, they don't actually have any like space for multiple user codes, which is weird. You can only program in one user code. And he's like, yeah, it's kind of limited. John, if you're watching, I totally will come down to Texas and I will get those locks from you. So many people have made really kind offers. Nobody like right in my backyard yet. Even one of my, like I'm here obviously at RTA still. One of our staff members, James is like, man, my family's got some electronic safe locks on some of our, they got a lot of gun safes down in Arizona where his family is. And he's like, we should go down to Arizona and just bring the safes up to the office. And I'm like, yeah, what are you doing later? Let's get a big truck. I want to go. But yeah, this information is out there to those of us in the security world and in the locksmithing and safe technician world. But the customers right now, like this is a huge wake-up call for a lot of customers who have never been aware that these backdoors exist. Talking about helpful hackers, right? We have someone named NotK who put a really cool thread together on Shitter. My friend Ginger, she wrote to me, she's like, hey, check this guy out. So this was somebody who's been following the story, and NotK was like, hey, if you have a Liberty Safe and it has a Securam electronic lock on it, he's like, you don't have to throw your whole thing out. Here's the reset procedure. And he shows like, this is where it's like a little pinhole in the back with it's like you're trying to get a CD out of a stuck CD drawer, which is a very old-timey person thing to say that I just said, like get a paper clip out, right? But yeah, you can factory reset a lot of these locks. You can take steps if you're concerned. You can try to remove, again, like I talked about removing serial numbers. You can remove the serial number sticker from your lock. That's kind of a way to obfuscate things. Still got to worry about that little black box though, don't you? If you've owned your lock for a while, it's probably vulnerable to that attack still. That's why a lot of people have been getting in touch with me saying, hey, I really do think I want to do that swap out for a mechanical lock. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I love mechanical safe locks. That's not a panacea, right? There's still ways that people can attack them. We teach, like at Red Team Alliance, we teach safe manipulation. We run an entire mechanical safe lock servicing and manipulation class. I can teach just about any of you out there to manipulate a basic Group 2 lock. Like that's a little S&G 6730, right? A little Vernier scale in the air that's someone on the internet printed for me. Hey, check it out, I'm finally checking it out, right? And like I can teach any one of you out there to manipulate that lock open. It's like an $80 lock roughly. When the government has their guns locked up in a safe, first of all, you know, again, I'm like a GSA safe tech, right? GSA weapons containers do not use electronic locks, not even the 2740 locks. So like, yeah, what do they use? They use the Sargent Greenleaf 2937. That's the armory grade, all mechanical lock. Costs more, you know, costs about $800. That might be more than some of y'all paid for some of your safes if they're small bargain safes. So that's a little bit unreasonable. Going with like a Group 1 safe lock at that point. Okay, well, what could you do? What would you want to do if like the 2937 is overkill and the 6730 is kind of like not what you want? Well, there is something, so there's a Group 2M. Again, if you've seen my gun storage lecture, you understand that like this exists for a reason. You can get a Group 2M safe dial, which is the safe, like $150 roughly. What is the difference? We're not going to get way in the weeds. I talked about it in some comments on the internet. We'll talk about things like false gates and eccentric rollers in the nose of the cam. It makes manipulation really, really hard. You can also get a manipulation-proof mechanical safe. So in the early days of the Cold War, right, when we were moving away from time locks, we needed to put something on our safes. The old 8500 series, right? 8550. You can still buy an 8550. They're about $400, and you could feel like, you know, you're doing some James Bond, is Russia coming to get my documents thing. Again, these are all going to fit in the same spot on a safe. They all have the same footprint, and you can swap these out with just little 1/4x20 screws if you want a mechanical lock. Yeah, whether you go group 2, group 2M, group 1, I mean, you can go really tight, you go group 1R. You go against that radiological attack, right? You get the, what was that, the 8560 series? Yeah. I bet I could probably, you know what, I'll throw screenshots in of supplier pricing. I think officially you can still get those for a few $100 because again, we don't really use those anymore on government safes, the old Mozilla 302s, and so you get a Mozilla 302, you can get an S&G 8560. But yeah, like the 8560's got those Delrin wheels, right? So if you got the Eastern Bloc people coming in with small bits of isotope on the end of a rod trying to look through your safe, which is, it's a real attack, right? So you have a lot of options in general, that's what I mean. You have a lot of options if you want to put a mechanical lock on your safe. I'm not going to scoff at you or sneeze at you. And again, if I find somebody who wants me to like change their lockout, and if you're near me, we'll do it. We'll capture it on video, we'll make a little guide. It's not hard, it's not a challenge, especially if you're going mechanical. Adding an electronic lock to a safe is a lot of wires and fiddly bits, but just adding a mechanical lock, any one of y'all can do this. You put a really nice mechanical lock on a safe, what's the only real procedure to get in there? What are you gonna do? It's AutoDialer time, honestly. Yeah, if it's a manipulation, we'll call it manipulation proof, even though S&G did have their old MP model, which stood for manipulation proof. That was the predecessor, basically, to the 6630. The real meaningful thing that someone will do, if other than destructive entry, right? If the feds are there and you don't give up the combination and they can't get the combination, they're probably going to contract with somebody who will destroy the safe. But there's a reason these exist, right? You know somebody destroyed your safe unless they do a really good repair on it. This doesn't leave any traces. If you're curious, by the way, so yeah, so the old ITL 2000 has existed for a long time. The Combi, the QX Combi, that's a pretty nice tool. It's not bad. I used to like the Combi, the Auto Jack Dialer, honestly. The one that's running next to me blows everyone out of the water. Right now, this is currently running an exhaustive search. It would try every feasible combination for this lock. There's a small forbidden zone, there's a dead zone, so it's not a true million combinations, it's 700-some thousand. That if you ran it every digit possible, a full brute force attack would be, God, I did the math on it once, it's like 5.5 days. Now, I can then set this, however, to do things like smart mode dialing, efficiency dialing. If I know the safe lock I'm attacking, like that's a big red over there. If I'm attacking an S&G like group 2, I don't have to be perfect by each digit. I can dial every other digit. You know how much that drops the key space? It's like 90,000 combinations at that point. You can run that in math is math, 18 hours, 17, 18 hours, something like that. Yeah, that's a weekend. That's like someone goes out of town for the night. You could mag mount this to their safe and just run it, right? And get the combination, get it open. But again, like this thing, you really can put dictionary attacks in this. You can say, if you work in a facility that requires high-low-high or low-high-low combinations, you tick that box. If you are using this, if I'm doing a safe opening for an agency and they say, yeah, we have like password and safe combination policies, you're not allowed to have anything ending in a 0. Well, I'll take them out. I love it. I love this fucking thing. It's really, really cool. Now you might say, okay, well, if the feds have all these cool tools, why would I resist? They're gonna get in anyway if they show up and they have a warrant, right? Because in this case, this dude, like he was under arrest because they had a warrant. Wouldn't that just compel me to give them the combination? Or maybe the feds, like, you know, if you're a teenager and like a cop pulls you over and wants to hassle you and they're like, there are drugs in the car. If I bring a dog out here, the dog's gonna make a royal mess and rip your car up. And you're like, oh man, I don't want my dad's car destroyed. The feds might do that. They'd be like, oh, you don't want your whole living room destroyed if we have to cut into this and there's hot sparks and metal slag everywhere. First of all, they have to protect your property. They have to put down a burn blanket and everything else. But the threat of like, oh, we're gonna mess up your whole house, you better give us the combination. Remember, a warrant searches places. It does not search the inside of your head. And I'll let Ian Runkle talk more about this. Maybe, if you haven't been following, I mentioned Runkle of the Bailey recently on the Cara video. Ian, I'll link him below. He did a video about Liberty Safe. Great, great analysis. He points out the same thing many of us have, which is like, hey, you know, Liberty wasn't under subpoena. That's kind of a dick move. Like, make your lawyers actually push back. But maybe he'll analyze this. The idea, if you have a safe in your house, is it your safe? Is it someone else's safe? Do you merely have possessory interest in that safe? There are safes that my relatives have at each other's houses to like spread out their gun collection, and they don't know the combination to each other's safes. In at least one instance I know of, a friend of mine, a colleague, he has a safe at another house that the people in that house do not have the combination because they can't legally have it. There are NFA goods that are in that safe that those people can't legally have. Like they're his NFA like suppressors and SBRs. So if you can show, if you demonstrate that you know the combination to a safe, that is evidence that the contents of that safe are yours, or at the very least, they're under your control. So just because the feds come knocking and they have a warrant, it's not on you to like unlock the safe when they demand it. That could be used against you, I believe, in court. We should let Ian talk more about that. Maybe I'm wrong. If you're a lawyer, tell me in the comments. But in general, what do you always do whenever anybody who's an authority figure comes knocking and they have questions? This video is coming out on Friday, right? Perfect day for it, because it's Shut the Fuck Up Friday. You shut the fuck up. If you're worried about debris and hot, you know, sparks on your carpeting or some shit like that, I'm sure that there's a cleaning bill involved, or maybe they're going to destroy the safe. And they say, we're just trying to clear you from this whole problem. It's that other guy who used to live in your apartment who had a gun. We just have to make sure it's not here. You don't want to destroy your $200 safe, your $500 safe, your $1,000 safe. Think of it this way. After something goes really bad, if you're in a, like literally a chair in a courtroom and you're paying God knows how much for a lawyer, and you have years of your life potentially in the balance, would you send a message to your old self and be like, do you know how much money I would pay right now for you to have made a different decision? If that amount of money is probably more than what the safe is worth, shut the fuck up. Let them cut it, let them drill it, let them do what they're gonna do, and talk to your lawyer. But I'm not a lawyer. Listen to a lawyer who hopefully has something to say about this. Yeah, one way or another, as bad as all this is, I'm pleased that this news story is capturing a lot of Americans' attention, especially like the kind of Americans that don't think enough about privacy, specifically digital privacy. Your information, your personal data, and where it is held and what corporations have it and what they do with it, more people need to be talking about this. My friend Eva, right? So like, she was just like on the internet talking on Mastodon and Blue Sky about the Mozilla Corporation, who just came out with a really slammer of a report about the automotive industry. Like all these guys right now who are on the internet and on like other sites, you know, very, very rural truck nuts kind of people talking about they're gonna go boycott Liberty Safe and all my I bet all of them drive like a fucking F-150. Do you know how much data your car is learning about you? As Eva pointed out, literally quoting from the Mozilla report when they looked into all this, you would think that a car literally getting data about your sex life, like you having sex in the car, and then selling that information to data brokers would be fiction. But sadly, it is not. We live in a world where your electronic safe can like be compromised with a phone call from the feds, and your car can just monitor all of your comings and goings, can track what you're doing, how fast you drive, what you're listening to, and sell this. If you have a modern car, it is probably selling your data right now to data brokers, especially if you put their app on your phone. Again, this is all, I'll link the Mozilla report down there. This is part of a wider issue that Americans are hopefully waking up to more and more. Your data is not secure if you are giving it to corporations, and many of us are giving it to corporations without even realizing it, because we don't have comprehensive data privacy laws in this country, and we need them badly. And now for the, like, what do I do about it? Which is what everyone wants to take away from videos like this and Twitter threads like this and Blue Sky threads like this. Are mechanical locks the way to be? Like, are they always better? Yes, like there's an AutoDialer, but who meaningfully, what kind of attacker has that? Like the feds have that. And does that mean that like all is lost because the feds could like get in? That honestly, I remember a story. God, if you know where this story is from, please put it in the comments. I'll pin your comment. Maybe it was in one of Professor Dressler's lessons. Maybe I heard it somewhere else. It was a story of literally, I think it was a traffic stop. And the person was probably a criminal. I think he was like a drug kingpin or something. But this person had a very robust safe in their car. And as part of the traffic stop, they wanted to, because it was like a Terry stop, right? It was an there's a lot of Fourth Amendment play. There's a lot of soft spots in the Fourth Amendment in a traffic stop. And the police seized the vehicle, they impounded it, they searched the glove box, because they can do all that. A search incident to a vehicle stop and a vehicle impounding is a big thing. That's a big Fourth Amendment exception. But they couldn't get in the safe. And under the conditions of like a Terry type stop or a vehicle impounding stop, they didn't have the permission to destroy the safe. And it took so long to try to manipulate this safe, because there were no electronic back doors, that the subject, the owner of the car, the way I heard the story, is that they worked with their lawyers and they got the vehicle pulled out of custody. They got it released because they're like, look, you can't hold the vehicle this long. And like the authorities never got into the safe in that instance. So yeah, slowing people down, making them take longer or use more expensive or more resource intensive attacks, that's a good thing in my mind. That's why, again, this is why I like mechanical safe locks. Are they perfect for everything? No. Electronic locks are popular for a lot of reasons. They're popular because they're faster, right? If someone's never used a safe combination lock before, and you tell, I've had this once, I was out of town and I needed somebody to get something, they were getting something out of one of my safes, and I was walking this poor cat over the phone like through many, many attempts and steps. And eventually I was like, I think I had him to install Signal and do a video call with me, pointing the camera at the safe. And I was explaining, no, you have to go past that number. No, again, pass it again. No, it's not like a gym locker. So a dial safe lock, a mechanical safe lock, there's some friction if someone doesn't know how to use it. A keypad, everybody knows how to use a phone. So they're faster, there's lower friction. Also, you can support multiple users with an electronic safe lock. With a mechanical lock, a purely mechanical lock, there's basically one combination. And if you want to let other people in the safe, they all have to know the combination. And if you have one friend who moves away or you don't want them in the safe anymore, like, you have to change the whole combination. You can do revocable user codes if you have an electronic lock. There's auditing, there's logging, right? Electronic locks support audit trails. Now, some people don't like that. Other people, especially in corporate environments, I've worked with people to get like the AuditCon lock or something. And because of regulatory reasons, they had financial documents and financial instruments in the safe. They needed to know how many times that safe had been opened, by whom, with which code, at what time of day. You can't do that with a mechanical lock meaningfully, not in the lock itself. If you've seen me talk about little in-safe monitor tools, yeah, that one's by SimTech. I have an old version of theirs that I liked very much, and this is the new one that just came out. I picked up, I haven't even taken it out of the box yet. You'll get a future video about that. Securam makes one. They make a little box that sits inside your safe. What do these do? They let you know if someone's been in the safe. They let you know what time, they send an alert, etc. So you can do sort of, is anyone messing with my safe things, even if you have a mechanical lock. This is what it comes down to. If you're not comfortable with safes and safe locks, I understand why you would get the electronic one and why you might even want those backdoor codes. Manufacturers want to ultimately serve their customers. Now, are they double dipping? Are they serving their government customers as much as their commercial customers? I think that's what we saw today. But they want the customer satisfaction to be high. They want a good experience. If a customer says, oh my God, I screwed something up, I don't know what I did, I can't get into this safe anymore, manufacturers spend a lot of time answering emails like that and saying, well, here's the procedure. They don't spend nearly as many days answering emails that say, oh my God, why have you put a back door into my safe? I mean, they're answering a lot more of those emails now. But yeah, like, I understand why these features exist. I understand why some people might even want them. Personally, for me, I'm confident and comfortable with mechanical locks. I'm comfortable with servicing them properly, with saving the combinations in, KeyPass or 1Password or some other vault. I'm okay with mechanical locks. What's the right lock for you? It all depends. It depends who's opening. Are you the only one opening your safe? Is someone else in your house? Is a family member, a friend? Are they gonna have to open the safe under duress, under time constraints? I'll tell you this, I have electronic lock boxes in my house as well. Like our carry pistols and such, our daily driver hardware guns, those are not behind a large mechanical dial. The big mechanical dials are on large, heavy-duty, like tool-resistant burglary safes that live in various buildings which house all of our gun collection. But our daily drivers, like, yeah, those go in a little lockbox that have an electronic, one of them has a biometric lock on it. Why? Because if that gets compromised, it's not the ball game. That's just a simple little box that has some valuables like some jewelry in it, and it has a pistol, or 2 pistols right now, actually, when I think about it. Yeah, so what's right for you? It all depends on the situation. Again, I have a whole video about gun storage, a whole lecture that I gave to a gun club. And actually, LGC, their annual meeting's coming up. It's gonna be here in Vegas in a couple weeks, right? It's in October. I think get in touch with me. Somebody, didn't you want me to like talk? Maybe this would be a good topic. We could talk about it at the goddamn annual meeting. If you want me to give a presentation, I can come out here. I'm going to be running classes. I might be out here anyway. But yeah, somebody get in touch with me at LGC. If you want me, just give me an official invite. I'll put you on the calendar. As for everyone else, we'll see what happens next. Liberty says that they'll delete your data. And do I trust them? Sure. Do I trust that that's the end of the story? No. Do I think that you could like erase an SNG or a Securam or any other product sufficiently to make it safe to use or harder for the feds to like do some backdoor shenanigans? Maybe. It depends on what version of the hardware you got, right? That little black box still out there. Ultimately, you have to decide for yourself. I can't tell you what to do. I can only tell you what I do and why I do it and give you some pluses and minuses of some other choices. I hope this is helpful. Again, keep checking out Runkle, keep checking out other people who are gonna keep talking about this, and follow the manufacturers to see what they keep saying. I think there'll be a lot of people making new demands in the market, and you'll see a lot of, maybe there's gonna be like a drop-down menu on websites when you buy these products, and they say, now it used to just be like, do you want a mechanical lock or an electronic lock? Maybe there'll be one that's like, oh, you want an electronic lock, do you want us to have the override code or not? Keep an eye on that, keep an eye on your stuff. Keep an eye on your beeholes. Don't do what Donnie Don't did and get yourself raided by the feds. That's also good advice. Just be a good person, be a good citizen. Try to stay off the feds' radar. Do whatever you can to keep yourself and your loved ones safe out there.